Hello. And I'm glad to welcome you here. And, I want to admit this quarantine period really made this world smaller and closer. We have the unique chance to have an international webinar without leaving our houses. And I think we should really appreciate and use the advantage that we have. And my name is Roxolana Varanovska. I'm CEO of LVBS Consulting and the head of the Family Business Center in Lviv Business School. We decided to have this webinar dedicated to the questions of family business in times of crisis, because we know that on the one hand, family businesses face the same challenges as any other business around the world. Still, nevertheless, family businesses have, we believe that they have special issues and some particular advantages as well. And today we will discuss it with my great guests. And I welcome Rania Labaki. If I could ask, to bring her in the bigger picture, that would be great, on the bigger screen. So Rania is the director of the EDHEC Family Business Center, as well as the associate professor of management in EDHEC Business School and scholar at the Cornell Smith Family Business Initiative. In addition to her academic work, Rania is also advising business families, especially in the Landsberg, Gersig and Associates, and serves as the board member of the International Family Enterprise Research Academy and head of the academic committee at the Family Business Network France. I'm sure we'll get to know Rania more today. Maybe she will tell us more about herself and her interests. I would just like to remind that we had the chance to welcome her last June in Lviv Business School at our International Conference of Family Business. We also have Oleg Baran, who we have a great privilege to have among alumni of Lviv Business School. And he is also co-owner of the family-run company Rodinna Kovbaska. I'm sure that most of the participants today know this company, and this company is really interesting for us as they involve already 3 generations in the management team. Yes, the founders generation, Oleg and his brother, and already their children. And I'm sure that his experience, their experience also in surviving crises will be quite useful for us in these days, and we will hear more today about it. And so my first question then would be, for sure, maybe it's not that original or exciting, but I have to ask it. So what are the specific things that family businesses have, or how do they survive the crisis, go through this crisis differently than other companies? And Oleg, maybe, and I mean, it's not only how they go through the crises, it's also what specific features they have that help them maybe in a different way. Maybe they have some strengths which they can leverage, and it can help them survive, And Rania, maybe I'll ask you, as you have, this experience and this gathered knowledge from many countries, European, and, you can share some thoughts with us.
So, who will start? Rania?
Rania, yes.
Rania, please.
Hi, everyone. I am very pleased to join you again virtually this time to talk about family businesses. I really hope that you are doing well and your families also and loved ones are doing well. So this is a very important topic, and the question you just asked is really relevant because it's about what distinguishes really family businesses from others, whether in crisis or not. And we can see already that family businesses have higher longevity rates. So they survive already over time longer than others. And this is mainly due to their resilience. So the resilience that family business managed to develop over time actually represent a competitive advantage. So what is resilience? So I will try to define it briefly and then hand it over to Oleg, and we will do a back and forth conversation. So resilience is about the capacity to adapt while facing adversity. Mainly bouncing back when there is a certain event or action which takes place, which incurs a big change that completely disrupts the course of things as we have planned them before. So when there's this disruption, this important change, family businesses manage actually to adapt and to bounce back and to get back to a state of equilibrium. So, normally in a normal life, we have a state of equilibrium that researchers call homeostasis. So the idea is like when we hit a certain tough event, or when we go to a certain crisis, it could be a family crisis, like a divorce, a death, an illness, but it could be, also a business or economic crisis. We need to go back to this state of equilibrium, and if we are able to do this in a relatively short period of time, this means that we are resilient enough, and also if we are able to go back to the state of equilibrium, or also create another one perhaps, without making big damage to the system in which we are evolving. So I'm curious to know, Oleg, what kind of crisis has your family business encountered over time, and how you are managing the crisis right now?
Our company has been in the market more than 20 years, so we see a few crises in this path, or in this time. It was 2008 and 2014, but what I remember from this crisis, that mother always told us that more important is health than money. So we more concentrate, and we start to be more like unite body, and we try to be helpful for each one. So we try to help one by one, and make more support. And so when the crisis come, we try, it's help to family be more, like you said, more focused to help each other, yeah? More focused to be stronger. And for me, what I remember from this 2008, that in this, when the crisis starts, I want to remind something good from this time, and I stopped to smoke. So this was for me more good things what I remember from this crisis. And I understand that it's always crisis, it's always emotional and rational things. So the family business is this hard or strong position that rational, when you have some emotional problems in family, the family always will help you. So if we look of the family business, this is the strong position of the family, because everybody try to support you, everybody to try to help you. And this is the main issue for me, for crisis and for the family business.
Thank you. Thank you for your introductions. I would also remind that we are looking forward to the questions from the participants. If you have them in course of the webinar, just write them in the chat, and we will have a chance to ask these questions to our guests. Maybe I could, go a bit deeper with this question, because sometimes family businesses are referred as businesses which are less innovative than corporations. They are more conservative, maybe less risky. Do you see, first of all, is it true? And second, if these special features of family companies are rather of advantage or disadvantage in times of crisis? Maybe, I don't know, who has the ideas first, Oleg or Rania?
I can take it from there, and maybe Oleg can illustrate. So family businesses have higher capacity to innovate than non-family businesses, but their willingness to innovate is not always there, which makes them not always, turn this capacity into action. Why? Because they don't only seek financial goals, they also seek non-financial goals, such as socio-emotional wealth creation. In other words, they want to make sure to protect the reputation of business, to maintain the harmony of the family, to maintain good relationships with the communities and with the employees. So sometimes innovating might mean that they will lay off employees, that they will stop the production in a historical business unit, which is very dear to the hearts of certain family members. So in that sense, in family business, innovation is not always a one-way thing. So it takes sometimes a lot of discussions to be able to decide whether the innovation should be enacted or not. This being said, what we observe is that in times of crisis, family businesses are entrepreneurial, and they try to innovate, and they do it sometimes faster than others because they have the entrepreneurship in their DNA. They're risk takers, and their ideas are there. And what is also interesting to note is that when they innovate, they socially innovate. So they do social innovation. In other words, they try to look into the benefits of this innovation for the larger system, beyond the business itself. For example, the communities and so on. And we saw many examples during this crisis of businesses doing this. But I'm sure that Oleg has something to share around this as well.
Yes, my opinion is that the main two pillars what family business builds, it's the unite and trust. So how it help in the family, how it help in crisis period of time, that you can really, if you are the leader and you are a member of the family, you can really be really very fast in your decision, and you can really quick react and different things what's happen in environments. So and this the culture of, for example, my company, and I believe that this is culture also of family business companies, which give it the this culture help us also the management of the company to be more reactive, and the trust what I have, for example, from the owners, from the family, I give it the same to my managers, that they also can do the same. So we work like a team, and everyone know that we could make mistakes. Of course, we make mistakes. From time to time, we made mistakes, and this is normal. And but we look from the innovative. We try to analyze, like you said, how change the behavior of the customers. What can we do? For example, we make delivering online by this period of coronavirus, by this crisis what we have now. Instead of doing that 2 years, we think about how we will do, how we can make this, but we did that in 2 days or 1 week because of this crisis. And also we start to propose some basket last year, but this year we really make with this basket explore, and we sell a lot, and this was some new products for the company what we try to achieve, and we really achieve. So we understand better. So what is very important that and I believe that this is possibility of family business company, that trust, and unite. This is really help when your family member all the time support you, help you. This is, I think, way to be more innovation and more, like you said, different steps for the future.
And fast also, yes.
And fast. Yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Maybe I can give some examples of, family businesses, in other regions who already, also engaged in some changes, like they innovated their business model in a way to meet the crisis. And also, taking into account this important trust component, Oleg, that you just mentioned, can cite the example of Michelin. Michelin is a French-based company, but internationally present, and it produces, among other things, tires. So they shut down their factories when the crisis hit hardly Europe, and then they decided to reopen them to produce masks, So, completely different type of production, but the idea is, let's innovate. We have gone already through several crises over time, so we can adapt fast and move on. And we can also see that, for example, Sisley or even LVMH, Dior, so other companies also were more in the cosmetics and perfume industry, started producing hydroalcoholic gels and also donating, like hand creams for Sisley, for example, for the hospitals. So family businesses, in a way, try to innovate, taking into account what's going on in the environment, and they do it fast, and it helps not only the business, obviously, but of course the society.
Yes, thank you. I would like to discuss this notion of, the unity of family businesses and helping the environment they work in a bit, maybe also later. I'm sure maybe we will have more questions on that. And now I would like to come back to a bit more practical issue of, and it's the corporate governance of the family companies. And usually they have the boards, in Ukraine is not obliged, but still, progressive family companies like Rodinna Kovbaska have their boards, which are the important body in the governance of the company. And, my question will be what is the role of these boards in these times of crisis, how the board should be involved into the company, is it more or less, what's the relationship, especially in this, high speed time we have. And maybe I'll start with Oleg, asking him to tell us a bit more of a story, how you came up to the idea to have the board, and what is the role, what you expect from your board nowadays in these days.
We, like you said, that we start with our board from totally different ideas. So ideas with the board was we had some different view in the same thing. So it was some problems in the family, and we want to decide, so the company will be dividing, or it will be in this like it was. So we was in the position that we want to decide what we will do in the future. And the board in this case was like a little bit enemy in this point, and it makes us stronger, and our family start to be more stronger and more happy, I can say. Yeah. So we start to feel what we maybe a few years not feeling, and but it was in the start. But now we understand that business change, and the role of the board also changed by this time what we did the board. And now, of course, the advertising what board can give it and can give it to each company, it's the people who in the board, they probably always have a big experience, a big experience and challenge. So they know what's going on. They have a, like I said, big experience, so can really be helpful for you and for business. And when you want to decide something, for example, if I have some difficult decision and I want to have some advising with somebody, I call to my head of the board and speak with him and communicate what he thinks. So maybe he give it me some question, and after that I'm more stronger in my position, or I change my mind. So this very important. And of course that because we are in the food market, we are not feel so big crisis like maybe in other markets which totally close or something like that. But I still believe that in another market it's even more important to have some advising like that. And really the board, I know that some companies do every week's meetings, so they think how they can work with the costs or and other things, because many challenges come. And like I said, that people must be ready, because you have emotional problems and you need to understand. And of course the people, strong people, can give you support and can help you in this moment.
So you mean that in general the boards meet more often in times of crisis, to be more supportive, to be there when you need?
I mean, all the time we have our chat or something like that. So they ask me about updates every 2 weeks. I update what's going on. If I need some help, I have a phone number each one. So I even had some connection with some of them. For example, I spoke just yesterday with Federico about some ideas, what we have and what we think, how we can implement that. So this is the really instrument which can help and be better.
Mm-hmm. And Rania, what would you say from your, experience of observing family companies?
Well, first of all, I agree with Oleg. Boards are essential, especially when the business starts growing and when there are challenges ahead, because they bring this outside perspective, especially when the board is made up of independent members who are not family members but who are experts in different fields. So for example, if the business wants to go international, it's important to have a board member who has an international experience. It's also important to have a gender diversity in the board. Research shows that women on board contribute to better performance of those boards as well. So in a way, communication is key, and in Oleg's case, there is a very good communication. Because if the family business decides to create a board just to create it and does not disclose key information to the board, there won't be help otherwise. So it's important to look into the composition of the board, the frequency of meetings, and in the current crisis, it's very important to increase this frequency of meetings. And not only among the board members, but also between the board and the management committee, keeping in mind that the board is more of a corporate governance structure. But certain family businesses have also family governance structures, such as a family board or a family council, which really takes care mainly of, maintaining the harmony of the family and informing the family members of how things are going on in the business, especially those who are not actively working in the business. So it's important in terms of crisis also to have good communication between the board, which is a corporate governance structure, the management and the executive committee, and also all the family governance bodies, if they exist. And if not, to have a kind of informal family committee which is in touch with the board. So this is even more important, as I just said, in crisis. Why? Because in crisis, the values of the family businesses are challenged. Sometimes because of the difficult situation, family businesses have to decide whether they need to lay off employees or not, for example. And then looking back to the values, and if the values do not allow that, the values are more, of taking care of the communities, having this social responsibility, then the values will guide, the decisions differently. So that's why it's important to have that good connection.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. It's really, I'm also learning a lot, of how the boards could be more effective and more helpful in these times. I also have, the question, which is kind of similar, because you have other processes in family companies like succession, and it can happen, you could have planned it like 2 years ago, and now you are already in the process, or you were going to start it. And now the crisis hit, and I'm sure that family companies could face this question, whether we should continue with succession or whether we should stop. And when I mean succession, I could mean it in a broader way. It's not just passing to the next generation. It can also touch upon, changing the CEO. You were about to change somebody in the management team. So is it the good time to keep with this, or you should stop, and after the crisis finishes, you could come back to this idea? And I will ask Rania first to answer this question, because I would like to specify a bit more later with Oleg and his experience.
Yes, succession is key. Some scholars said that it's an oxymoron in the family business, and it's the most emotionally charged experience. And we know from statistics that most family businesses do not make it because of succession difficulties. And as you just said, succession can mean a lot of things. Can mean, changing, like transferring the managerial responsibilities, can mean also ownership transfer, and also it can mean governance transfer. So in such a way, it is important to keep in mind that succession is a long-term process. When we think about managerial succession, it's usually starts at a very, very early age. So what we call socialization process. So family members start introducing the family business to the young generation. Can you still hear me?
No better. Or something. Now good.
Now it's good?
It was not very good, but now I think it's better. Yeah. Okay. So we can start with the succession is a long-term process. And,
Okay. So succession is a long-term process, and it can start at a very early age. So family members, for example, introduce the family business to the young generation at a very early age. Are you still hearing me well or not? Yes, okay. By providing them with a sense of, the passion of the business. I can guess, perhaps in Oleg's case, just making them like the meat and, get the different tastes and so on. And, over time, telling them stories about how the family business thrived in difficult times. So as such, today is an ideal situation, because the young generation can experience hands-on how things are taking place in the family business and how the family members are facing this crisis. So I would really encourage family members to share with their children, even if they are at a young age, about the situation, how they are handling it, how they are taking care of the community, what values are driving them in these difficult times, so that the young generation learns, and as such is prepared to overcome crisis in the future as well. So this is, from the managerial succession level.
Yes, thank you, Rania. You know, Oleg, after you mentioned some positive things you took from the 2008 crisis, like quitting smoking, we had a comment here, you know, that's a great, in fact, great idea, you know, life hack, you know, to take something positive, to remember it and to take it with you. And so I think, and Rania also right now mentioned, you know, that you need to tell the stories to your next generation of how you survived crises, you know, how you faced difficult times and how you overcame them. And so my question will be to you, you know, how do you think when, you know, when you are in the process of succession, how would you, you know, give these tips, this precious experience of the family company to the next generation?
Yeah, I already have one story about so if we speak about succession, so my opinion is, if we when the crisis starts, one way or the other, we need to have a leader who will be provide the company, who will be take the decision, who will be take the responsibility, and who will be the caps of the boat, like that. Okay. And in this case, if you start this is just my opinion, because maybe I was not in the same situation, but what I feel right now, that if I start the procedure, and I understand that the young leader growing, and I feel that he can be this cap, I will of course continue to do that. I will give him maybe more support, but I will not stop that. Maybe I will, spend more time with him, give him more ideas, or speak more communication. But I think this is time when people start to be stronger. So this is for me important time, and we can use this time maximum. But when we speak about second point about if we make succession for the kids, for me, maybe we need to think about the crisis, because crisis coming very rarely. I mean, not very rare, but sometimes of every 10 years or 12 years, or I don't know. But we need maybe to prepare for that, like, or tell them story, or some who will be this cap, think about who will be the leader if it will happen, so that people know what they will do. Like Slevotsky said, that the best things to be preparing for the crisis, to be preparing for the risk. So it's some work with the risk, what can happen. And this preparation, now we can see that when we will start this process, we need to think to prepare the next generation for this kind of things.
Yes, and I can add to it also the emotional part and the altruistic part. You know, Oleg, you mentioned at the very beginning of this conversation, you know, the fact that your mother was always saying that it's better to help others than look for money in difficult times. You know, this is like a sign of altruistic behavior, and family businesses are very much known for that. And, you know, just by telling, reminding the young members about this quote, and also telling them about the emotions that the family has felt, in history and right now, how is it feeling? They are also, not only thinking in terms of how rationality can drive their behavior in the future, but also their emotions. And actually, research shows that, in times of crisis, people feel more anxious. You know, there's this anxiety that takes place, and anxiety can paralyze decision making. So as such, what would happen is that if we want to revert the tendency, we need to create positive emotions. And doing beneficial tasks, helping others, is about altruistic behavior, and it creates positive emotions. And those positive emotions can become contagious. you know. So really build on this, you know, philanthropic, you know, orientation during times of crisis, helping others, will really, you know, make like a snowball effect, positive snowball effect. And I can share, you know, an example of a large family group, Solvay. So it's a large group in materials and chemical specialties. And they decided in this times of crisis to create a fund, a solidarity fund against the COVID-19 to help their employees mainly. And to be able to do so, they decided to, so the managers decided to reduce their salaries, so to give part of their salaries to this fund. They also asked the shareholders whether they would be willing to sacrifice their dividends. So, you know, it was not compulsory, but those who wanted to do that have had the possibility to. And the business also decided also to provide part of the support to this fund. So this is an example, you know, of how a family business, together with managers, shareholders, can make a difference. And this difference might be useful right now, but it will certainly create more loyalty, more commitment from the employees that will serve the family business in the future. So, you know, those practices, you know, have much bigger impact than we might think at first sight.
I like very much this notion of emotions, of altruism, and of you know, building strong walls now for the future generations and future challenges they might face. That's really a very precious idea. Thank you. And we touched upon, for sure, because family businesses are known for their responsibility, for their care for the environment, employees, stakeholders. And so maybe I'll ask you, Oleg, you know, how Rodina Kovbaska was involved in these days, you know, what were your thoughts at first, you know, and then how did you come to actions, and what did you decide to do with, you know, joining the world in fighting this virus?
Yeah, first of all, we understand that what is important for people in our company to understand that each one is have no temperature, no some not sickness, but I mean
signs of
signs of that. So we give it to the driver of who who provide the trucks with the people. We give it them the equipment to measure the temperature, and of course we give it the mask. We give it to all the people which sit in the bus. We give it the mask. We give it the
gloves, рукавички, gloves.
Gloves. So from one side, we try to divide the people, and I mean to less communicate and less and divide by shifts. So we try to see how the business can work and be responsibility for the people, because people need to be healthy. And in Lviv, we have strong network for me, like businessmen, which was aware about what's happened. So we made every 2 weeks some connection with the mayor and the governor, and also the businessmen, and we speak about what going on in the city, what the kind of problems we have, what or we need, for example, I don't know, buy the tests, or we need buy the to order the mask or another things. and our company was also aware about these things. We of course we put some money on that, and of course when we hear that another project where we can be supported by food or meat, or we also grow some grains. So when they because we know the older people need some, they cannot move from home, so we need to give it them more, we need to support them some feed or something like that. So we also was in this project, and if we hear from, so this was the more systematic things what we did in systematic way. I mean, every 2 weeks. First, we do every week the meeting, so we hear each other, we know what happened and what the problem we have in the city and how we can help. So this was our position, and we understand that we are social business. We understand that we need to help, and so if we said that family business values is family values, we cannot stay away that we see something happen wrong in social.
Yes, it's like, like your mom said, yes, help before money.
Exactly.
Thank you for your experience. I just want to remind our participants that you have a chance to ask the question. It's not that we have too much time left, so if you have one, so please write them in our chat here. And Rania, you provided us with some great examples already, but maybe, I'm sure you have some more from, France, which was hit so badly, and we were watching all this. I'm sure that family businesses were the first ones, on this, war line fighting with COVID. Are you unmuted, Rania? Just turn on the mic, please. Thank you.
Yes, no. Well, indeed, French family businesses were also, among the first to do something about this crisis. And there's also, I have other examples like big companies. So it's, pens. So they decided to issue a new collection with prints about, medical doctors and nurses, and to give all the profits to the hospitals. And also what is interesting is that some other businesses were like in the clothing industry, or they also changed their production into masks. So this is something that we have lacked a lot in France. So we had a big issue around this, and those businesses were the first to react to this. But we can also see the very small businesses, they also were super agile. Some of them, like just in 15 days, they adapted all their production facilities, putting in place, security norms, social distancing, and all this to be able to continue working. And this is easier for those family businesses because there's really a very close connection with the employees. So employees sometimes are viewed as quasi-family members. So there's strong loyalty of these employees. And I had the chance to hold several webinars with family businesses during this crisis times. And, I did a survey to ask, how employees are reacting to this crisis. And it was interesting to see that most of them are very committed or even increased their commitments to the family business to help in this crisis. So they're not like demotivated. So that's like really, important to see. And we can also see, at least, in France, that family businesses are rather optimistic. They see the crisis as an opportunity. So an opportunity for different systems, like for the family to get closer together, although the family members won't be seeing each other like physically more often, but the number of video conferences has increased. They're like more in touch with each other, and they're really appreciating more this human connection. And also, the sharing between senior and young generation is increasing. So the young generation is eager to learn more how the family has managed crisis in the history, and the senior generation are sharing these stories. And this is one way to connect also. So, and and again, on the social level, already provided examples, but the communities also, appreciate what the family businesses have been doing. So, and even the suppliers, the bankers, there are very strong relationships between them and the family businesses. So they are there also to help. So financial resources are to a certain extent more easily accessible to family businesses when there are like very good, trustworthy relationships on a long-term basis. So in a way, the relationships with the ecosystem and with the internal systems are very important for everyone together, to be very cohesive and to fight this virus in the end.
Wow, thank you very much, Rania. I especially thank you for mentioning these small businesses, because indeed, they quite often they don't have so many so many resources and opportunities, but they are also very much involved. So we have questions. The first question goes to Oleg, because it's the question to him. So you mentioned that the crisis developed new habits or skills in you. So what new habits or skills you have developed during this quarantine time? You are mute, Oleg. Just switch on the mic, please.
I saw this question and I think what I can happen very positive things in this period of time, that I spent really a lot of time with my oldest daughter. So because we have 5 kids, so sometimes it's not sometimes, mainly I don't have too much time to spend with them, but now I was spent many times with daughters, so I think my connection now it's totally different which was in past, because of course when they was smaller, I was young and I was just see the job, I didn't see anything small. So now it was time when I can spend with them a lot of meetings, many discussion about how they look to the world, how they feel. So I think this time I will remember from this point. I will remind myself that I could spoke with them really a lot and explain some stories, feel what they feel. So this is, I think, the good time.
Yes, great. It's, transferring already the family values to the next generation, and who knows, maybe one day they will want to join the family company and they will be much more ready.
Why not?
Thank you, Oleg.
Thank you.
And another question, maybe, to both of you, but first I will ask Rania to answer. Do family businesses have more conflicts during crisis?
Well, this relates to what Oleg actually just said. Some families will rather, stick to the most important things and, do not go into conflicts for, financial matters. But some others, especially when they have already been very apart from each other, they might engage into conflicts. That's why family governance is so important. So when we have a strong family governance, family members are already meeting regularly, they're already, engaging in certain events together, they know each other's expectations, they're aligned on the future of the business.
Sorry, Rania, we have some problem with your. Oh, now it's better. No, again, something is with the mic. No, now you're muted. Okay, try again. Oleg, please take this question. You know, what do you think of these conflicts in crisis times?
Okay.
Do we risk having more conflict?
I believe it is like Rania said. It depends of the family council. It depends of the what the relationship between family members. So I can say about myself. I don't have too many stories about another family business, but for me, the crisis, all the times the crisis did us company much stronger. So it was not, the crisis for us was like, I don't know, helpful thing. So for me, it is, I think it's like life. If some look, when you have for somebody life, it's the pain. As somebody say, life is the happiness. So this is the same, I think. And if you build your relationship in good way, in good position, the crisis will not make you problems. Will not disappoint you or destroy you. So.
Thank you, Oleg. So we have Rania back. Glad to see you again, Rania. So maybe, I mean, you mentioned already that if the company is in a good health, the crisis is not, the family is not risking, you know, to have more conflicts in crisis. Do you have anything to add on this? Yeah, but just unmute yourself. No, you can't. Yeah, now it's good.
Okay. Yes, what I was saying that you know, when the family members are aligned before the crisis, it's easier for them to grow stronger together. But when there are already some misaligned interests, the crisis comes and you know, makes those misalignments even more important. That's why it's important to prevent crisis, to not let go, you know, negative emotions, divergent expectations, to really address the issues as they come and not let them, you know, grow stronger in times of crisis. So family governance is very good for this because it lets everybody speak up, tell about their expectations, and make everybody find a common ground.
So we have two more questions, like one in two parts and another one, and I propose, you know, to take them and then to wrap it up. And so my first question will be to Rania. Do you agree that it is harder to work in the family business boards than in regular ones? Because you have to act on behalf of stakeholders with multiple and potentially conflicting views. If so, from your experience, do family companies have to work more on hiring and motivating the board members?
Okay. So if I understood the question correctly, the idea is like, is it more complex in a way in a family business to have multiple stakeholders to deal with? Yes, I mean, it's not an easy endeavor, but it's an opportunity to build strong relationships with all these stakeholders. And especially during this crisis, some family businesses look for kind of stakeholders advisory committee, you know, so they make the other suppliers, the clients, you know, community representatives heard to understand what are their expectations in this crisis, what is the advice that they would like to give to make sure that, you know, they meet these expectations even in crisis times. It's not easy because, you know, each one has a different background, different way of thinking, different expectations, but we can, with a good conversation, end up by finding a common ground. So it's more complex, definitely, but it can really be a stepping stone for a better future together. And I would like also here to stress the strong connection of family businesses with the territories. You know, some family businesses, even if they are like of a big size, they have their headquarters in the little village where the business has started. And this is also very important because it keeps the family rooted in its origin, its history, being humble about where it started, and also contributing to these, original communities which help them thrive in the beginning.
But
I hope I answered.
Yes, thank you. But I also want here also is one part of the question: if it is more difficult to hire the board for the family company, is it less prestigious, or there are more risks to work for the family as the board member?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Actually, research shows that actually both, the family business has to do like special attractiveness process to be able to attract those external members by explaining to them why it is different to work in a family business, and also all the advantages, being part of a family which is entrepreneurial and having the possibility also to innovate, to take risks, and also to fail maybe, which would not be the case in other businesses. And also the external advisors or directors should be also aware about the complexities of family businesses and the complexity of the family and the emotional dynamics which might come into play in decision making, and be ready also for it. So for the family business, it's important to check for the emotional intelligence in a way of the external director, to make sure that they understand the specificities of those family businesses, and also for the external director to be willing to take this challenge, but also to know that together with the family they can achieve big things. So it's a two-way collaboration, and yeah.
Thank you for clearing this up. Thank you very much. Oleg, and the question to you was, is your board involved now, or maybe if not board, then your family, in preparing the next generation of leaders? So you mentioned that you spend much more time with your elder daughters, but do you have it already in mind, this purpose to prepare them right now to the succession?
Very good, very interesting question, because I start to think about that when in UKU was in meeting with this Dutch people from Holland, and that they said that they even made some university for the young talents. So we think about that. I think it's more in family council. So we need to prepare something for the board. The family council need to prepare something for the board, and board maybe can give it the support for this person, or even I think what I can say, I think about that, and we plan to implement something in our company, but I think in this moment we're just in the first step. So I think maybe Rania can divide with us some experience how the company do that, and what was the process. It will be also very interesting for me.
Okay, so if I understood correctly what you said, Oleg, so the idea is how to take it from here together with external directors to prepare the future.
No, I mean, we speak more about young talent.
Yeah.
What we want to grow, and to in future that they could be a part of the company, or they just can be a really strong family, because it's also the way they cannot, maybe they will not work in the company, but they will be strong people, or I don't know, talent people, they will really successful in their life.
Yes, well, I will provide an answer in two parts. So first of all, about the family young talent, and then about the non-family young talent, how to deal with this. Well, let me start with the family and non-family young talent, like in general. What we observe is that the young generation is very much interested into environmental issues, social responsibility. They're very sensitive to this. So today they're looking for a career in a family business or another business, which is respectful of the environment and socially responsible. So this is something very important for them. And I have some family business examples in mind where the next generation did not want to join the business because the business was not respectful of the environment. For example, there's a family business in the textile industry. So the clothing is manufactured in China and the business is based in Europe. So the next generation said, no, I mean, we're producing things in China. We're not supporting our local economies. You know, you have all those flights to provide the merchandise, and this is not, you know, environmentally friendly. We're not going into the business unless, you know, they come up with a very specific business model idea of different ways of producing clothing and so on. So first of all, really, the family business should show the example and be aware of these new preoccupations of the young generation to attract them. Second, another thing, if the family, you know, young talent is not really interested in an operational role, there are other ways to contribute. For example, they can start their own business and be supported by the family. So there are certain family businesses, I'm thinking about the Méliès family in France, which is in the retail industry, among others. They have a myriad of startups and of companies with around 700 shareholders today. And they encourage the next generation to start their own business. So the family will take part of the ownership of that business, will provide mentoring with also outside experts. And in a way, you know, the business is growing. It's like a tree with a myriad of businesses. So this is a way to encourage the next generation, tell them, you know, you can still be part of the family business, but with your own business, you know, like be entrepreneurial, experience this. And another way also is to have them involved in the family governance, you know, like helping them organize the meetings for the families, perhaps, you know, help writing the history book of the business, like do their own investigation, and also, you know, connect with other families to create something, you know, which unites families together. So they can play a role as, you know, family council president or board member as well. And they can also support in the philanthropy. So we know that family businesses are very much involved in philanthropy. They have sometimes their own foundation, or they have informal, you know, activities in philanthropy. So the next generation can come and structure all this, or, you know, join the foundation. And as such, it's also a way to prepare them for the future. Perhaps in the future, just by joining the foundation, they will experience the values of the business. They will understand, you know, how the family is really contributing. And this might, you know, give them the motivation to join the business later and experience hands-on how is it through the foundation. So there are multiple ways for the family young talent to contribute to the family business beyond the operations. But it's also up to the family members to motivate this young generation, to reassure them, to be patient, to listen to them, because it's a generation which is wants everything very fast. You know, so there's a generation shift. It's up to each family to understand that and to adapt that.
Thank you, Rania, for these great tips. Oleg, do you have, you know, some answers?
No, thank you, Rania. It was very interesting, and it new challenges with next generation.
Yes, I mean, you are in the meat business.
Another webinar about challenges with the next generation.
Yes. So.
Yes, we'll take it into account. Thank you, really, Rania, indeed. And so we have last question here, and it was also my question on the list. You know, Oleg mentioned that the family business, I'm not sure if they were just family businesses, but businesses here in Lviv, united, you know, they have joint calls with the mayor, you know, they discuss what is needed, they try to help each other. So my question is rather maybe a bit different. It's like, how family businesses, are they stronger now if they unite in terms of helping each other? I mean, you know, some companies might be smaller. Can a bigger family company change its supply chain and order from this smaller company, for instance? You know, it's just a small example, but I mean, do you see the examples of family businesses joining together and giving hand to each other in times of crisis?
Do you want me to start?
If you are ready, yes.
I mean, I can see that, you know, family members are parts of different networks. You know, like there are membership organizations, like the Family Business Network, for example, is one of them, and it's in different countries. So the family businesses would come together virtually, of course, this time, to exchange experiences. So I had the chance, you know, to moderate such webinars, for example. And it's very important for them because they learn such from each other. Also, they learn from researchers and other experts. And they're also part of organizations which are a little bit doing some lobbying, let's say. And as such, providing recommendations or propositions, rather, for the governments on how to better support businesses in times of crisis. So they come together to provide such proposals. So I can see this in France and also at the European level. There's the European Family Business Group also, who is very much involved in this. So yes, they come together, they help each other to push things politically, but also to learn from each other. Yeah.
Yes, great. I mean, leading by example is always the best. Oleg, if you have anything to join, to add, or you would like just, you know, to sum up, to give some recommendations from your side, you are welcome.
Yeah, I can tell that, for example, we built our supply, we work with our suppliers, and of course, like you said, that, for example, with the fast, I think many people know this company, mostly everyone knows this company, that they also now in very difficult position. And for example, they start to make the mask. So we buy from them the mask for special price because we had a good relationship, and we also help them. We put some products what they produce in our shops, but this is not was in our values. So we not sell the chocolate or coffee in our shops, but we start do that because of this situation what's happened. So this is also the small collaboration what we do, because I think that our family business, we try to work with the suppliers or with the customers who have the same values, who have the same point of view. So, and we try to build our relationship in the same things. So this is like that.
Oh, thank you for this inspiring story and example. Yeah. It's really great. So I think that was, you know, a good, we're in a good mood and on a good note, you know, to wrap it up. If you have anything, you know, just for the last words, please say if you want, and if not, we can just, you know, say we can just wait for new opportunities to hear you, to see you, and to ask you more questions.
I can say some final words. You know, family businesses have a real competitive advantage in this crisis. So as a family business member, be aware of this. And even if the company is relatively young, so has not really gone through tough crisis, the family itself has gone through crisis in the past, you know, and as the family is the core system, there are lots of learnings. So just, you know, share the stories and be aware that resilience is key, and it can be built over generations. It can develop, it can grow. So it's just a matter of, you know, being resilient over time. So just leverage that as a family business.
Thank you. Oleg?
Yeah, I believe that family business is the future. This is because even in our family we can see that our parents is the foundation for our steps. So this is very important, and this is really can create an advantage of between family business and normal business. So I believe that this is strong position, and I believe that the future for the family business, how we see that the family business companies, they work really longer, and they really, some of them really strong, and some of them who can build really strong family, they really can build the strong company for the 100 years. Yeah. So I want to tell the people that even if you have some problems, this is normal, and even if you have inside your family some challenges, this is also okay. So not important what kind of challenges you have, the important how you resolve that and how you will live after that. So I believe that this is the future. And even when we were in Canada with the with UKU in Canada tour, that we see that mostly the economic of Canada build the family business. So let's make Ukrainian family business stronger and stronger. Of course, we have so many good examples and communication with France and another countries which really can give it us so big experience, and this is really can help us. Thank you.
Thank you. And I thank you both, you know, for taking your time, you know, for being so fast on reacting on this idea we had, because, you know, that's what we do. This Family Business Center was established to transfer some best, you know, practices from the countries who have much longer history, to bring them here so that Ukrainian family businesses can be stronger, you know, it can build their foundations for hundreds of years ahead. Thank you, everyone who participated. We will also publish the recording of this meeting so that you can share with your friends who couldn't join, and also some article we'll do in Ukrainian so that we can, so more people maybe who are not so good in English could benefit from this conversation, because, you know, I think it was really, really fruitful on great thoughts, tips, and ideas. So thank you again, Rania, Oleg, and looking forward to meeting you again.
Thank you. Thank you all. So all the team of the Lviv Family Business Center really appreciate also this invitation.